Broadcasting to you live from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, this is TBC News, our top stories tonight. Zanzibar government to continue to improve higher learning institutions. Tanzanian appointed executive director UNEP. Good evening, I am Kefa Igilo. You can follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBConline, and also get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter pages at TBConline. The President of Zanzibar and the Chairman of the Revolutionary Council, who is also the Chancellor of the State University of Zanzibar, SUZA, Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi, says his government is increasing efforts to develop the university to train young people to be competent, professional, and creative. Dr. Mwinyi was leading the 18th graduation of the university that was held in Tungu, Unguja earlier today. He congratulated on the increase in the number of students graduated successfully this year from 1,894 to 1,913.
Serikali itaendelea kuchukua hatua za kuimarisha mazingira ya kufanyia kazi.
The government will continue to take key initiatives to improve the working environment, and everyone should execute their responsibilities, especially in attaining our intended goals. I congratulate you for all the steps this university has taken. However, the university should make more efforts to be even better in preparing youths professionally and in creativity.
On her part, the Minister for Education and Practical Training, Leila Mohamed Musa, says the Zanzibar Revolutionary Government's efforts are to provide scholars with education to enable them to employ themselves.
Enables youth not only to acquire knowledge, but also employ themselves. The University of Zanzibar has to play its role in this. We should ensure that our graduates have the skills that they studied for, so that the burden can be lifted from the parents.
And the Vice Principal of the university, Professor Mohamed Makame Haji, adds that the university plans to have a marine science department intending to train on concept of blue economy, and the government has already approved the funds for the project.
Efforts to strengthen the blue economy sector, we shall construct an institute for aquatic science at the Nkrumah campus, where we shall have the administration building and an institute for sailors, among other facilities. The fund for the construction of all these facilities has already been signed off.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has appointed Tanzanian Elizabeth Mrema as the Deputy Director General of the United Nations organization dealing with environmental issues. Elizabeth replaces Joyce Msuya, also a Tanzanian who has also been appointed as the Assistant Secretary General Division of Humanitarian Affairs and also the Deputy Coordinator of Emergency Disasters since 2020. Elizabeth has been Secretary General of the United Nations Secretariat for Integrated Biology, that is United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, in Montreal, Canada. Before that, she has acted as the General Secretary in the CBD Secretariat, but she has also been the Director of the Legal Division of UNEP in Nairobi, Kenya. Elizabeth also holds a master's degree in law from Dalhousie University, Halifax, Canada. But also, she has a law degree from the University of Dar es Salaam. And now via Skype, we are joined by Elizabeth Mrema, who talks to my colleague Faida Ngaga.
Madam Elizabeth Mrema, you have been appointed as the Deputy Executive Director of the United Nations Environmental Program, one of the top positions at UNEP. Tell us, first of all, when you received the news, how did you feel? How did it make you feel? How did you react?
Obviously, I was very happy. And very happy that the Secretary General of the United Nations was able to pick my name from, I'm sure, many names he had, and many probably of more professional, more experts than myself, but he decided to pick me. So I had to be happy, very delighted, and thanks to him for having confidence on me and ready to give me the opportunity to show that I can do what he expects. 1, 2, you should also understand that I'm equally holding more or less the same level of position where I am now.
As a Tanzanian, as an African, how are you prepared to uphold the interests of developing countries, specifically African countries and Tanzania?
Yes. 1, you should be aware that working as the international civil servant with the United Nations, I'm expected to be neutral and not to lay my focus on one region vis-a-vis others or one country vis-a-vis others. Otherwise, then that will interfere with my neutrality. Nonetheless, particularly the work of the United Nations Environment Program, actually, it focuses on supporting and helping developing countries. While developed countries, we go to them many times to tap on their technical knowledge, expertise, technology, also resources in terms of funds to enable the organization support developing countries, including Tanzania, to actually also deal with the environmental management challenges. So you will find normally we have many, many projects. In fact, I will say 90% of the projects of the organizations are in developing countries.
Developing countries seem to not be satisfied with the execution of the financing plans. Now, tell us your plan to make a change in this aspect.
One correction, and especially coming now from the biodiversity angle. And this is the mistake the world has been found itself in the past years. For many years, attention globally has been on climate change issues. But in the recent years, the world has also realized that you cannot deal with climate change issues without looking at the loss of biodiversity, because the two issues are intrinsically connected and linked. And solutions to climate change are solutions to biodiversity loss.
Let's wind up, Madam Elizabeth. Now, what do you have to say to Tanzanians who are looking up to you with admiration, especially women who want to one day reach to a position that you have reached? What do you have to say to them?
Good question. Thank you very much. It has taken me, I will say, about 28 years within the United Nations to reach where I am. And I think I can say confidently, it has simply been because of my commitment to the work, hardworking, and really hardworking. In other words, then for us women, we always have to go an extra 2 miles than men to be able to reach where one can reach.
Thank you very much, Madam Elizabeth. That was Madam Elizabeth Mrema, the Deputy Executive Director of the newly appointed Deputy Executive Director of United Nations Environmental Program. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Madam Elizabeth. Moving on, the government has completed the construction of the large Sahwa water project in Mwanza. that includes construction of infrastructures to supply water to the outskirts areas of the city, including Magu and Misungwi districts from Butimba. The project has cost about 17 billion Tanzanian shillings. Mwanza Urban Water Supply and Sanitation Authority, MWASA Executive Director Engineer Leonard Nsenyele says the project will start providing services to the people when the 69 billion shillings Butimba Water Source Construction Project is completed next year. Here is a report prepared by Moses Matthew and read by our own Nasa Kingu.
The Sawa Water Project, involving the construction of a main pipe for water supply from Butimba in Mwanza to the Igoma tank, has been completed. The project, that has cost the government 17 billion shillings, involved the construction of the main Sawa water pumping station to supply water to the outskirts areas of Mwanza, as well as some areas of Magu and Misungwi districts.
This tank has 2,000 cubic meters, and as you see, those are water pumps to supply water to Igoma tank. But there are also 3 sets of water pumps to supply water to Buhongwa. Therefore, this water station is complete, and we have started the piloting process.
The main water pumping station of Sawa will start providing services when the construction project of the Butimba water source in Mwanza is completed at cost of 69 billion shillings next year.
This project was executed by China Civil Engineering Construction, CCE, and it's now complete. And the Sawa station will be receiving water largely from Butimba to Sawa.
People living on the outskirts of Mwanza who are expected to benefit from the project have asked the government to complete the construction of Butimba water source on time.
Tutapata maji kwa usahihi kabisa.
When the tank is complete, we shall get enough supply of water. And so we pray that the project goes well such that we can get the supply of water as planned.
Mradi wa maji imekuwa ni changamoto.
The water supply here has been a huge challenge. We spend so much time fetching water. We urge the government to look into this. We urge the government to make sure that everyone gets access to water here.
Has allocated 6 billion Tanzanian shillings for the implementation of 11 water projects in Bariadi district in Simiyu region. The project will benefit about 27,000 residents when completed. Here is a report prepared by Pasco Michael, read by Apasia Ringo.
The manager of the Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency, Ruwasa Bariadi District, Engineer Mapengu Gendai, made the statement while introducing new water projects that are to start to be implemented in the district for the budget of the financial year 2022-2023.
This project will increase the availability of water by 6.1%. And we expect by June 2023, we expect the availability of water in Bariadi district to reach 82.4%. We are going to increase 27,066 people who will benefit in getting clean and safe water. In the financial year 2022-2023, Maswa at Bariadi district have been allocated approximately 6 billion and 36 million for the execution of various water projects in rural areas. This year projects, we will execute 11 projects.
Residents of Igegu Village and Old Maso Street say the completion of these projects will relieve them of the water crisis.
I'm very grateful to all those who implemented this project. As women, we face challenges in accessing water. So when we get projects like this, they are really helpful. For instance, I personally cannot carry water buckets on my head.
They waste so much time in fetching water. Instead of spending that time in agricultural activities, people end up until late hours waiting for water.
We are grateful to President Samia Suluhu Hassan for bringing to us this water project. In the past, we used to experience challenges in accessing water. Therefore, we are very grateful for this.
Bariadi District Commissioner Lupakisio Kapange urges young people to use the opportunities that these water projects present.
Ndugu zangu Wanaijebu, leo hii tumekuja hapa kuzindua mradi.
Dear brethren, this project costs a lot of money. This means everyone will have access of water. I urge all young people to see this as an opportunity.
Apasia Ringo, TBC News.
Global AIDS update shows gender inequality leads to 1,100 young people aged 15 to 24 years become infected with HIV daily. In Tanzania, the report shows also adolescent girls and young women to be the most at risk. But UN AIDS Executive Director Winnie Byanyima thinks Tanzania stands a better chance to resolve the situation. Nasa Kingu reports.
Gender inequality has been termed to be the main reason for higher rate of new HIV infections among young girls and young women. UNAIDS Executive Director Winnie Byanyima says 3 out of 4 new infections are of girls and young women.
It's girls and young women, because here in Tanzania, between the age of 15 and 24, you find that 3 out of 4 new infections are of girls and young women. It really tells you that there are gender inequalities that are driving the high risk for girls and young women, and this must be removed.
She believes women in power in Tanzania can make a difference.
This is a country where 37% of the women of the parliamentarians are women. Your president is an amazing woman whom we all admire in our region, the first one, woman president. You have a woman speaker. So this issue of girls being more vulnerable to HIV, I know that if the women in politics, the women in cabinet, the women in parliament, the president, if they come together, it can be solved.
She mentions keeping a girl child in school is one of the best ways to stop new infections among girls and young women.
And we know how to solve it. The first thing is to keep girls in school up to the end of secondary. Critical. When they stay in secondary school, the risk drops by 50%. 50%. Also, if in the school you put their programs, such as sexuality education, which I know is already going on, but hasn't reached 100% of schools. But if you push it hard, and every girl is able to know about their body and how to protect themselves, the risks, then you reduce the risk even further.
But what do young people in Tanzania think to be the main reasons for the girls and young women to be more at risk?
It's the moment they practice, they try new things and new way of what's going around the world. And in that age, mostly they don't have that self-decisions. They're just like, something motivates them to decide, and mostly maybe emotions and stuff. Maybe I don't want my boyfriend to be mad at me, so I just have to do that. So it's so sad. Like they don't have that personal integrity, knowing their boundaries.
And he said that most of the young girls or the young boys, most of them are affected because they ignore the education that is concerning to HIV or AIDS.
There is not enough education to most of the young, young adults. For some places which they lack these solutions that are provided by the government, it is hard for them to know how HIV affects them. They just fail to tell the people who are close or the professionals to help them. So I think the education is so much not good to people. That's why.
Ushauri wangu kwa kundi la vijana, kwanza vijana walio wengi sana wanaogopa kupima. Wanafanya yote lakini wanaogopa kupima. So ushauri wangu wa kwanza kabisa ni kuwashauri vijana kwenda kupima afya zao, hasa virusi vya ukimwi. Najua serikali inatoa bure kupima virusi vya ukimwi, wanaweza kaenda wakapima, kucheki afya zao mara kwa mara ili kujua kwamba hata kama wakiwa na virusi hivyo vya ukimwi, wajue ni namna gani vipi wasiweze kuambukiza na watu wengi.
Finally, UNH Director praises Tanzanian President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan for her readiness to reduce inequalities in the country and be exemplary in the fight against AIDS.
And I know the will is there. Your president wants it. She has agreed to lead a global campaign to reduce the inequality for children. Children are left behind. 75% of adults, you and me, people like us, who have HIV are on treatment. They are living okay. They just swallow the pill like you have high blood pressure. But children, it is only 52% who are positive, who are on treatment. We are leaving them behind. So this problem, Tanzania is ready to tackle it.
Nasa Kingo, TBC News.
Minister for Health Umi Mwalimu says road accident caused by reckless driving forces the health sector to bear heavy treatment costs. She made the remarks during the visit to the Temeke Regional Referral Hospital, where she said her ministry intends to meet with the Minister of Internal Affairs to discuss a joint strategic plan that will reduce accidents that also cost people's lives, especially the young. Emmanuel Samuel reports.
Despite efforts done by the Tanzanian police forces to educate the public on road safety, some drivers are still reported not to follow the traffic rules. Minister of Health Umi Mwalimu says the problem calls for a joint strategic plan to set up permanent solution in order to reduce the unnecessary monetary burden on the health sector in treating patients resulting from the accidents.
Inaniuma sana, namkuta kijana wa miaka 21.
It is sad to see a young man having his arm and leg being amputated and leads into not producing well and not being independent in life. Right now, there is an increase in prosthetic. We are receiving requests for prosthetic for amputated legs.
The issue of excessive drinking in driving is also mentioned as a major contributing factor to the increase in road accidents.
Lakini la pili pia ni kuhakikisha tunaendelea kutoa elimu
to ensure that we are to provide education on road safety. Ministry of Health should look into it because it is a problem that is caused by excessive drunkenness and going against the rules of the road safety.
Kutozingatia kanuni za usalama barabarani.
But what does the police force say regarding the accidents that seem to be caused by carelessness of some of the drivers?
Nimeelekeza kwa makamanda wa polisi wa mikoa yote nchini.
I directed the police forces of the country to take over their responsibilities towards drivers who do not respect the road safety rules.
Dereva wakorofi kwa kuwa na muhali nao.
Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Emmanuel Samuel, TBC News.
The item concludes local news tonight. International news is up next. And here is Nyambona Masamba with the international news.
Hello and welcome to international news. The Ethiopian Airlines has resumed flights to Mekelle in Tigray region. The airline says it sent a team to Mekelle after ceasefire were signed in November. Ethiopian Airlines technical staff ensured Mekelle's airport was in good condition and ready to receive flights. Commercial flights between Addis Ababa and Tigray's region capital Mekelle were suspended for 18 months. Ethiopian government representatives visited northern Tigray region on Monday for the first time since 2020. Hong Kong has announced it is lifting almost all coronavirus restrictions from Thursday. Hong Kong scraps quarantine requirements from arriving passengers who test positive for COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccine will be dropped, but vaccinations against COVID-19 will continue. International travelers will no longer need to produce negative PCR tests upon arrival in Hong Kong. However, Taiwan, India and Japan will now require negative PCR tests for passengers traveling from China. The U.S. is considering imposing restrictions on passengers who have traveled to China. Hong Kong shares rose on Wednesday, while Chinese stocks fell as traders weigh easing of COVID-19 rules. To North America, the U.S. Supreme Court has upheld pandemic and policy that allows deportation of migrants entering from Mexico. Restrictions preventing entry of asylum seekers at U.S.-Mexico border were due to expire last week. The Trump administration enforced the Title 42 policy in 2020 to control the spread of COVID-19. U.S. officials have expelled asylum seekers at least 2.5 million times on the ground of curbing COVID-19. Conservative states have been pushing to keep the rules preventing asylum seekers from entering U.S. From North America to Europe, the head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, calls prayers to the former Pope Benedict, who is ill. Pope Benedict was the first pope to resign due to health problems. Pope Francis says the former pope has done great things for the church. We're winding up to Africa. Nigeria's southern port city of Calabar is holding the grand finale of the annual carnival on Wednesday. The Calabar Carnival runs for weeks and sees the participations of dozens of countries. The Calabar Carnival features live music performance, dance, street food events, and many other activities. All Nigerian states up to 40 foreigners countries take part in Calabar's carnival celebrations. However, the grand finale celebrations marred this year by deadly incident that took place in Calabar on Tuesday. 7 people were killed and 29 others injured when a car rammed into a crowd of onlookers on Tuesday. Nyambura Masamba, TBC, Dar es Salaam.
And that marks the end of News Bulletin for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Kefa Igilo. Good night.